The declaration. The message arrived at Terra Station 1 like a death sentence wrapped in silk. Commander Elena Vasquez read it 3 times before allowing herself to react. The Korvath hegemony, rulers of 2/3 of the known galaxy, had finally turned their attention to the small blue planet that humans called home. Their terms were simple: complete surrender within 10 solar rotations, or face total annihilation. Elena stood in the command center, surrounded by officers who had spent the last 5 years preparing for this exact moment. Through the reinforced viewports, she could see Earth spinning peacefully below, its surface dotted with lights from cities that had no idea their fate was being decided in orbit. The Korvath fleet hadn't arrived yet, but long-range sensors showed them massing at the edge of the solar system. 120 vessels, each one capable of turning a continent to glass. The holographic projector in the center of the room flickered to life, displaying the image of Supramarch Vextor. The alien stood 12 feet tall, its elongated skull gleaming with biometallic implants that marked it as one of the hegemony's elite. Its forearms moved in what humans had learned was a gesture of supreme confidence. When it spoke, the universal translator rendered its words in a tone that managed to convey both boredom and contempt. "Humans of Terra," the message began, "you have been evaluated and found suitable for integration into the Korvath hegemony. Your species shows moderate intelligence and acceptable physical capabilities for labor. You will surrender all weapons, dismantle your primitive space fleet, and submit to hegemony governance. Resistance will result in the sterilization of your world. You have 10 rotations to comply." Elena's deputy Marcus Chen snorted from his position at the tactical console. The sound drew looks from the younger officers, but Elena understood his reaction. For 5 years, ever since first contact with the galactic community, humanity had been playing the greatest con in history. Every alien diplomat who visited Earth saw exactly what humanity wanted them to see: a barely space-capable civilization with outdated technology and laughably simple defenses. The deception had been masterfully orchestrated. When alien observers came to evaluate Earth's military capabilities, they were shown old chemical rockets and projectile weapons. The newest human warship they inspected was actually a modified cargo hauler from 50 years ago, deliberately maintained to look like humanity's best effort at naval construction. Meanwhile, in the shadows of asteroids and hidden beneath the surfaces of moons, humanity's real fleet waited in silence. Elena remembered the secret briefing she'd attended when she first took command of Terra Station 1. General Harrison, Earth's military commander, had explained the strategy with grim satisfaction. "Let them think we're helpless," he'd said. "Let them believe we're just another primitive species waiting to be conquered. When they come for us, they'll come carelessly, arrogantly, and that's when we'll teach them what humans really are." The truth was that humanity had reverse-engineered alien technology within months of first contact. Not content to simply copy what they'd learned, human scientists had improved upon it, combining alien energy systems with human innovation in ways the galaxy had never seen. The mining operations on Mars weren't just extracting minerals. They were building warships in underground factories. The research station on Europa wasn't studying ice formations. It was developing weapons that could punch through any known shield technology. Elena turned to her communications officer. "Lieutenant Rivera, open a channel to Earth Command. Tell them the package has arrived." It was a prearranged code. Within minutes, similar messages would be spreading throughout human space, activating sleeper cells and hidden installations from Luna to the colonies in Alpha Centauri. "Ma'am," Chen called from his station, "the Korvath fleet is beginning to move. They'll be in Earth orbit in 8 days at their current speed." "They're taking their time," Elena observed. "They don't expect any resistance worth rushing for." She walked to the strategic display, studying the positions of every human asset in the system. To alien sensors, there were maybe 30 human vessels scattered throughout local space, mostly cargo ships and mining vessels. The Korvath wouldn't know about the 300 warships powered down and hidden among the asteroid belt. They wouldn't detect the automated defense platforms disguised as space debris. They certainly wouldn't expect the civilian population of Earth to be armed and trained for guerrilla warfare. "Commander," Rivera announced, "Earth Command is requesting a direct link. General Harrison wants to speak with you." Elena accepted the connection, and Harrison's weathered face appeared on her personal display. The general looked tired but determined. the weight of humanity's future resting on his shoulders. Elena, I assume you've reviewed our visitors' generous offer? Yes, sir. They want us to roll over and show our bellies. Indeed. What's your assessment? Elena considered her words carefully. They're overconfident. The Supramarch's message showed no respect for human capabilities, no acknowledgement that we might pose any threat. They're approaching this like every other conquest they've made in the last 1,000 years. Harrison nodded slowly. My thoughts exactly. They've grown soft, Elena. The hegemony hasn't faced real resistance in centuries. They've forgotten what it means to fight a species that evolved as persistence hunters, that survived ice ages and plagues and world wars. They see our divisions and think we're weak, not understanding that human competition made us stronger. What are your orders, General? We proceed with Operation Prometheus. But first I want you to send a response to the Supramarch. Be diplomatic but plant the seeds of doubt. Make them wonder, even if just for a moment, if they've misjudged us. Elena smiled for the first time since receiving the alien ultimatum. I have just the words, General. An hour later, after careful consultation with her staff, Elena stood before the communication array. She'd changed into her dress uniform, the dark blue fabric immaculate, her rank insignia polished to a mirror shine. When the connection established, she knew the Supramarch would be analyzing every detail, looking for signs of fear or submission. It would find neither. Supramarch Vextor, she began, her voice steady and clear. I am Commander Elena Vasquez, speaking for the United Peoples of Earth. We have received your message and given it the consideration it deserves. She paused, letting the silence stretch just long enough to be uncomfortable. You offer us integration into your hegemony, speaking of our moderate intelligence and acceptable physical capabilities. I'm curious, Supramarch, have you studied our history? Have you examined how humanity came to dominate our world? On the screen, she could see the Supramarch's biometallic implants flicker, a sign of irritation. Your primitive history is of no concern to the hegemony. You fought with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. We command antimatter and directed energy. There is no comparison. Perhaps, Elena conceded, but consider this. Humans didn't become the apex species of Earth through superior strength or natural weapons. We have no claws, no fangs, no armor. What we had was endurance and intelligence. We hunted by exhausting our prey, following them for days until they collapsed. We survived by adapting to every environment, from frozen wastelands to scorching deserts, and when we encountered obstacles, we didn't submit or flee. We learned. We evolved. We overcame. The Supramarch's forearms moved in what Elena recognized as a dismissive gesture. Philosophical musings will not save your species, Commander. You have 10 rotations to surrender. I understand, Elena replied. But before you go, I want you to know something. Every species you've conquered shared certain traits. They were herd animals, evolved for cooperation and submission to authority. When faced with a superior predator, their instinct was to surrender or flee. Humans are different. We evolved as tribal hunters. When threatened, we don't submit. We unite, we adapt, we strike back with everything we have. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes locked on the visual sensor. You say we have 10 rotations to decide. We need only one. Since you chose war, Supramarch, let us show you how it's done. The connection terminated, leaving Elena standing in the sudden silence of the communication chamber. Around her, her staff exchanged glances of mixed fear and determination. They all knew what came next. The die was cast, and humanity would either emerge victorious or cease to exist. Over the next 20 hours, Earth transformed. What appeared to be panic evacuations were actually strategic deployments. Civilian centers that seemed to be shutting down were activating hidden military installations. The outdated ships that the aliens had cataloged began receiving mysterious maintenance that would reveal their true capabilities. Elena remained at her post, coordinating with commanders throughout the system. Each hour brought new reports of readiness. The Mars colonies confirmed their railguns were operational. The Luna base reported their stealth fighters were prepped for launch. The asteroid miners acknowledged their vessels had been successfully converted to combat configuration. As the 8th day dawned, the Korvath fleet entered Earth orbit. 120 ships arranged in perfect formation, their shields shimmering with confident power. The Supramarch's flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Inevitable Victory, positioned itself directly above North America. Elena stood on the bridge of Terra Station 1, now revealed as a fully armed battle station. Around her, officers who had pretended to be scientists and administrators for years finally wore their true uniforms. The pretense was over. "Supermarch Vextor is hailing us," Rivera announced. "Put him through," Elena ordered. The alien appeared on screen, its biometallic implants glowing with what she now recognized as amusement. "Commander Vasquez, I trust Earth has made its decision?" Elena smiled, a predator's expression that seemed to unsettle the Supremarch.
"We have. Humanity chooses option 3. There is no option 3.
"Surrender or die." "Wrong," Elena said simply. "There's always option 3. We win." She turned to Chen. "Execute Prometheus. All units, all systems. Show them what humanity really is." The reckoning. The first sign that something was wrong came when the Korvath sensors suddenly went blind. Every piece of space debris they had dismissed as harmless simultaneously activated electromagnetic pulse generators, creating a storm of interference that left the alien fleet momentarily helpless. In those precious seconds, humanity revealed its true face. From the asteroid belt, 300 human warships dropped their stealth fields and accelerated toward Earth at speeds that should have been impossible for human technology. These weren't the primitive vessels the Korvath had cataloged. These were predators built with stolen knowledge and human innovation, armed with weapons that violated several galactic treaties humanity had never signed. Captain Lisa Park commanded the Vanguard ship, the UES Vengeance. Her vessel was smaller than any Korvath cruiser, but what it lacked in size it made up for in pure destructive capability. The ship's main weapon was something human. Scientists called a gravity lance, and a focused, gravitational anomaly that could tear through shields and hull armor like tissue. "Paper. Target the dreadnought." "Is communication array," Park ordered. "I want the Supremarch isolated from his fleet." The Vengeance fired, and a ripple of distorted space crossed the void. The inevitable victory's shields flared and failed at the point of impact. Secondary explosions cascaded across the ship's surface as its communication systems were severed. In one stroke, the Korvath fleet's coordination was crippled. But the real genius of humanity's defense wasn't in their ships. It was in their strategy. Instead of meeting the Korvath in a conventional battle line, human vessels operated in wolf packs, using hit-and-run tactics that the aliens' formal military doctrine couldn't counter. Ships would appear, strike, and vanish before the Korvath could respond. Others would pretend to retreat, pursuing aliens into kill zones where hidden weapons platforms would tear them apart. On Earth's surface, what the Korvath had assumed would be a helpless population revealed another surprise. Every major city had underground bunkers that weren't shelters. They were command centers for automated defense systems. Millions of drones, each no larger than a household pet, erupted from hidden silos. They swarmed toward the alien ships like angry hornets, too small for point defense systems to target effectively, but carrying explosives powerful enough to damage critical systems. Supremarch Vextor stood on his bridge, watching his perfect invasion dissolve into chaos. His tactical displays showed impossible readings, human ships appearing and disappearing, weapons that shouldn't exist, resistance where there should be submission. His four arms trembled with rage and something else he hadn't felt in centuries: fear. "Supremarch," his second-in-command reported, "we've lost contact with 12 vessels. The humans are using some kind of electronic warfare we can't counter. Our shields are holding, but they're targeting our weak points with surgical precision." "How do they know our weak points?" Vextor demanded. The answer came from an unexpected source. The bridge's main screen activated, showing Commander Vasquez in what was clearly a combat command center. Behind her, tactical displays showed the real-time positions of every Korvath ship. "You're wondering how we know your vulnerabilities," Elena said calmly. "The answer is simple. For 5 years you've been sending diplomats and observers to Earth. They ate our food, breathed our air, and never realized they were being scanned down to the molecular level. We know the frequency of your shields, the composition of your armor, the layout of your ships. We know which of your species' organs are vital and which are redundant. We know your reaction times, your combat doctrines, your psychological breaking points." "Impossible," Vextor snarled. "Your technology is primitive." "Our visible technology was primitive," Elena corrected. "Did you think a species that went from horse-drawn carts to landing on our moon in less than a century would stop advancing just because aliens told us we were inferior? We learned from you, Supremarch. Every piece of technology you showed us, we improved. Every weakness you displayed, we catalogued. Every arrogant assumption you made, we exploited. The tactical display behind Elena shifted, showing something that made Vextor's biometallic implants flicker in alarm. It wasn't just Earth defending itself. Signals were coming in from human colonies throughout local space. Colonies the Korvath had dismissed as insignificant mining operations or research outposts. Each one was revealing hidden defenses, hidden fleets, hidden armies, you see, Elena continued. Humans have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped for peaceful coexistence with the galaxy, but we prepared for war. Every human colony, every ship, every citizen has been preparing for this moment. You didn't invade one world, Supremarch. You declared war on a distributed network of fortified positions, each one ready to fight to the last breath. The Mars colonies demonstrated this point by firing their concealed railguns. Projectiles accelerated to near-light speed crossed the void, punching through 3 Korvath cruisers before their crews even knew they were under attack. The Luna base released its stealth fighters, small, agile craft that danced between the larger alien vessels, targeting engines and weapons with ruthless efficiency. But perhaps the most disturbing revelation for the Korvath was the behavior of human civilians. When drop pods managed to reach Earth's surface, expecting to find terrified populations ready for subjugation, they instead found armed resistance. Children threw improvised explosives. Elderly humans operated sniper rifles with deadly accuracy. Even the injured fought with a fury that the Korvath couldn't comprehend. This was humanity's true nature, not the peaceful facade they had shown the galaxy, but the desperate, adaptable, relentless species that had clawed its way to the top of Earth's food chain. When threatened, humans didn't just fight. They turned fighting into a science, an art, and a promise of mutual destruction. Captain Park's voice crackled over the command frequency. Commander, we've identified their flagship's main reactor. If we concentrate fire, we can breach it. Negative, Elena replied. I want the Supremarch alive. Target their engines and weapons only. Ma'am, we're not just winning this battle, Captain. We're sending a message to the entire galaxy. The battle raged for 6 hours. When the dust settled, 40 Korvath ships were destroyed, 30 were crippled, and the rest were surrounded by human vessels. The inevitable victory hung powerless in space, its weapons destroyed, its engines offline, its proud hull scarred by countless impacts. Elena opened a final channel to the Supremarch. The alien's biometallic implants had gone dark, a sign of complete systemic shock. When it saw her face on the screen, it managed to speak through what the translator indicated was severe distress. How, was all it asked. You want to know how we defeated the mighty Korvath hegemony? Elena asked. It's simple. You've spent 1,000 years conquering peaceful species. You've forgotten what real war looks like. You've forgotten that some species don't evolve despite conflict. They evolve because of it. She stood, her posture military straight. Humans have been fighting each other for our entire history. We've turned warfare into a constant drive for innovation. Every war taught us new ways to kill, new ways to survive, new ways to win. And when we finally united as a species, all that knowledge, all that experience, all that ruthless creativity turned outward. We surrender, Vextor said, the words seemingly torn from him. The hegemony surrenders. No, Elena said simply. Surrender implies we might show mercy. You threatened our children, our world, our future. There is no surrender. There is only your complete withdrawal from human space and a message you will carry to every species in the galaxy. What message? Elena's expression was cold as the void between stars. Humanity is here. We wanted peace, but you chose war. We offered friendship, but you demanded submission. So now the galaxy will learn what our ancestors knew. Humans are persistence predators. We don't just defeat our enemies. We hunt them. We outlast them. We break them. And we never ever forget. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. Your fleet has 1 hour to leave our system. Any Korvath ship found in human space after that will be destroyed. Any future aggression against humanity or our allies will result in us bringing the war to your homeworld. And trust me, Supremarch, you don't want to see what humans are capable of when we're truly angry. The connection ended. Within minutes, the battered Korvath fleet began its withdrawal. They left behind not just destroyed ships and dead warriors, but the shattered reputation of the hegemony's invincibility. News of humanity's victory would spread throughout the galaxy, carried by the very species that had thought humans were weak. In the months that followed, the galactic political landscape shifted dramatically. Species that had been subjugated by the hegemony began to rebel. Inspired by humanity's example, alliances formed with Earth at their center, not because humans demanded leadership, but because other species recognized the value of having humanity as an ally rather than an enemy. The Korvath never returned to human space. In their historical records, the battle became known as the Lesson, a reminder that appearance and reality were often very different things, and that underestimating a species based on their technology alone was a potentially fatal mistake. For humanity, the victory was bittersweet. They had wanted to explore the stars in peace, to learn and grow alongside other species. Instead, they had been forced to reveal their true nature as warriors. But perhaps that was always inevitable. As Elena had told the Supremarch, humans were persistence predators. They adapted, they survived, and when necessary, they showed the galaxy exactly why humanity's ancestors had once looked at the stars and decided they would own them all. The war was over, but the message was clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage and they would never be anyone's prey again.